What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 3 of my 365 graphic novel review challenge, where I am going to be reviewing a graphic novel every single day for this calendar year, or at least that's my goal. Yesterday, I talked about an old 1940s Justice Society character that Matt Wagner brought back into the 1990s, Sandman Mystery Theater. Today, I'm going to be talking about another 1940s JSA character that Matt Wagner briefly revived, Dr. Mid-Nite. This is a 3-issue miniseries with art by John K. Snyder III. And basically the premise here is there is a guy who calls himself the Mid-Nite Doctor, and he is Peter Cross, and he was basically kicked out of the medical field for fighting the system, which is corrupt. And so he goes underground, and he's trying to help everyone he can, kind of as an underground scientist. He's just trying to help wherever he can. He goes to ghettos to try and give people free medical supplies, free checkups, stuff like that. And then he winds up stumbling onto this big corrupt plot with this illegal drug that's going to get people cooked on it, and then they're going to get superpowers from this drug. And then the consortium that is behind this drug, they don't want him investigating this thing, so they wind up causing him to go blind, or at least at first he thinks he's blind, but because there's this weird science mumbo-jumbo involved, it turns out that he is able to see in complete darkness, just like the 1940s superhero Charles McNider, who was Dr. Mid-Nite. And so he becomes the second Dr. Mid-Nite, and this time he's like, okay, I'm going to continue fighting the good fight. I'm going to continue trying to do good deeds throughout the world, but instead of doing it as Peter Cross, because that kind of got me in trouble in the first place, I'm going to do it as a superhero, Dr. Mid-Nite. And then him officially being blind, all the world thinks that he's actually blind, that's going to be a perfect cover for him. No one is going to suspect that Dr. Peter Cross is the new Dr. Mid-Nite. And what I love so much about this, there's actually a few things that I love about this. If you'll remember yesterday, I said that I'm always disappointed when I see Matt Wagner's name on a book and then he's not the one doing the art. That's not the case here. I really love John K. Snyder III's artwork. It's painted, and so that's why it took them so long to do this, because originally their plan was for this to come out in 1994, and it came out in 1999. So Snyder is very meticulous with his artwork, but it's worth it. Of course, I didn't have to wait 5 years for it. I bought it whenever I bought it, but I really love the art here. It's very gorgeous stuff. It's kind of reminds me of some of the other artwork that you've seen. There was an Elseworld miniseries from the 90s called Batman Man-Bat. It reminds me a lot of that artwork. It kind of sort of reminds me of some of the work from books like, I know he's done some stuff on one of the Grindel miniseries, but I'm trying to think of some of the other artists that this guy reminds me of, and now none of those names are coming to mind, but it is painted artwork, so it's very gorgeous. There's not a single page of this that looks awful. It all looks very beautiful indeed, and also I really love the pulp feeling of this. I've always said that characters like the Green Hornet or the Shadow, or characters who existed in the 1930s in that pulp two-fisted era, that they have to stay in the 1930s. I don't want to see a modern-day remake of the Shadow or Flash Gordon or anything like that. I want to see those characters stay in the 1930s. This, in a way, proves me wrong. Now, Dr. Mid-Nite is not necessarily one of those characters that I consider has to stay in the 1930s, but if Matt Wagner and John K. Snyder III had taken this story and did it with the Shadow or the Spider or something like that, I would have been totally okay with them taking that character and moving them forward into the present day. Now, they did it with Dr. Mid-Nite, and that might bother some people if you are a huge Shadow fan or a huge fan of these pulp two-fisted characters from the 1930s. You might think that this story is a little too similar to those characters. For example, Peter Cross has an ally, a network of allies all across the city, very similar to how the Shadow, whenever he needs help with something, he will call on somebody whose life he saved at one point. It's very similar to that, so you might think that this is a little too similar to the Shadow. The villains of this book are the Terrible Trio, who are these three normal-ish dudes who dress up like animals, and they are actually villains from Batman, but I think they work very well here. In fact, I almost think that they work better here than they would for Batman, because Batman has kind of evolved past that whole two-fisted pulp feeling that he used to evoke in the late 1930s, early 40s. I feel like he's grown past that, where Dr. Mid-Nite doesn't really have a niche in the DC universe, so I think he works very well as that kind of model of character. So using those villains who also feel very pulpy and 1930s-y, I think works very well for this story. I also really like that Peter Cross is a hero before he gets his superpowers. You don't see that very often with superhero origins. This guy is doing good deeds. He is doing everything he can to help everybody that he knows. He's just trying to make the world a better place, and he's doing that before he gets his superpowers. Most of the time, you see these characters, they start doing good stuff after they get their superpowers. It's like they think that that's the only way that they can help people, and obviously that's not the case. If you are one of those people who you think that the real world is a really terrible place and you want to see the world become a better place, but you're thinking, if only I had the powers of Superman or Green Lantern, I can make the world a better place, you should really give this book a chance, because it will show you that you can do other things. You can volunteer at a free clinic, or you can help deliver supplies to a free clinic, or stuff like that. There's things that you can do to make the world just a tiny bit of a better place, and I really love that this character of Peter Cross, he is a heroic figure before he gets his superpowers. He is a hero first and a superhero second, and I really love that. I cannot say enough good things about Matt Wagner and John K. Snyder III's Dr. Mid-Nite series. I really wish they had done a sequel, and I know it would have taken them another 5 years to have done it, but I really wish we could have seen more of this character outside of David Goyer and Jeff Jones' Justice Society. He does show up in that series eventually, and I liked him there too, but I wish we could have seen more of him in solo stuff. I think that would have been really killer, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get that now. So I wish we could have gotten that after we got this. But that's all that I have to say about the Dr. Mid-Nite series. Tune in tomorrow, where I'm going to be talking about another character from the 1940s. Who could it be? I know, but you guys don't know. So tune in tomorrow for day 4 of my 365-a-day graphic novel challenge thing. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you later. Have a good one.